Okay, welcome back everyone. Today I'm doing my weekly trade review. I'm going to be breaking down every trade I've took this week, telling you why I took it, what went well, what went wrong, and how we can learn from it. So, some of you may be seeing in the bottom right, I'm recording this in London session on Friday. The reason for that is, if I come over onto Forex Factory, you can see we have non-farm employment change. This is one of the big three news events with CPI and FOMC, and I advise, as most others do, I don't touch the markets today. Some people don't touch the day before, which in this case would be 5th of June. However, I don't. That makes no difference to my win rate, and Thursday is actually normally one of my best days throughout the week, so I'm not going to cut that for anything really. My data shows that it's a good day for me. So I've took two trades this week, as you can see on my Notion. I took a USD CHF sell and a gold buy. So I'll jump into the charts and I'll break both of these down right now. As you just saw from my journal, the first trade I took this week was USD CHF, and I took it on Wednesday the 4th even. So I'm on the daily right now. I'm going to show you what I was looking at to get my daily context. As daily context for me is something very important. I think even though I am taking scalp, more intraday trades, I still like daily context to be on my side, because if the daily candle is going to close like this, for example, there is a high chance I'm going to be on the right side of price. So if I zoom out a bit as I need to, you can see daily we are bearish structure wise, and we had this break of structure right here. So price, we aggressively closed through, we came down, we swept liquidity that price engineered a few days prior, or probably about a week prior. We then pulled back and are now in a position to target this low down here. This would be another break of structure, as if I grab the fib from the highest point before we took the low to the lowest point before we pulled back, you can see past 0.3 is around this area is the minimum I like to see for a pullback. We went through that, so I'm now looking for price to continue lower. That has been confirmed with moves like this, where we filled this daily fair value gap, swept this high right here, and price is moving lower. We closed below these lows right here, price pulled back, and then Wednesday I thought, especially when I dropped down to the 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, this pair looks really good to sell. So let's do that. Let's drop down to the 4 hour. As you can see, ideally I would have liked us to come up into this 4 hour fair value gap. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, but what can you do? So we had this 4 hour fair value gap right here, which we didn't tap into. However, we swept this high and this high right here. We did this all pre-London session, so as you can see on the 1 hour, this was done on at 1 a.m, which also swept this high. So we've got the 4 hour and 1 hour sweep of liquidity, and then if we go down to the 30 minute, I use Asian high from 9 to 1. And as you can see, we left this just before 1, just at the end of Asia, we made this high. It doesn't actually need to be a swing high, it's just the highest point of Asia, which we swept, we rejected, we made a huge move up, rejected, and then rejected again. So coming into London, I was thinking, okay, we can move down quite a lot. We do have this 4 hour fair value gap right here, which price could respect and move higher from. However, stacking all of this and my daily context, obviously it didn't hold up, but I was thinking the chances are we are going to move lower. Okay, I've now jumped onto DXY, because with every trade I take that correlates with dollar, apart from gold, I need DXY to align. So as you can see, it's quite similar. Obviously structure is more compacted. We didn't have that huge break of structure like we did on CHF. However, as you can see, price is moving lower, and this was the lowest point before we pulled back. So again, this is my target. We pull back nicely into this fair value gap right here. I'll just draw it out so you can see it a bit clearer. We filled it and then are moving lower. I did mention this, I believe last week, as a good area for price to start moving down from. But once we filled this and had this move here, I was forecasting, okay, we're going to come down here. And as you can see, most days we did end up moving lower. So now I drop down to the 4 hour. As you can see, we had this liquidity grab right here. Looks pretty similar to CHF with this area right here. However, we do have these two 4-hour fair value gaps. This first one we mitigated by tapping into, then swept. So I thought, okay, this one, it's still there, but it may not be a problem. But obviously it did reject, so you can kind of forecast what might maybe happening from there. And this one, I was slightly more concerned about this one. However, same thing, daily context wise, I was thinking, okay, there was one issue here though, which I did have in the back of my mind. This low right here, we swept and didn't close below it. Obviously we opened below it, but we closed up here on Tuesday, and then Monday we just failed to close below it. We rejected, we came down here a few times, but didn't close below it once. So that was definitely something I was thinking, maybe we will pull higher for some high liquidity, whether that's maybe even this or up here first. However, when we swept that, I thought, okay, there is a chance, but I'm happy to take the risk on this area here and sell from here. So I'm going to now jump onto the lower time frame on USD/CHF. Now you've seen how DXY aligns, and I'll walk you through the actual position I took, why it lost, and what I learned from it. Now you can see I've jumped onto the 5 minute, where I'll be starting to show you the process of taking the trade. So 5 minute wise, price moved higher. We then had this market structure shift on the 5 minute here from sweeping these highs. I'm looking at this in the morning, I'm thinking, okay, great, this is potentially a great place to move down. These blue lines here are all 1 minute breakout structures, just so we can very easily differentiate the 5 and the 1. So we're breaking lower, breaking lower, breaking lower. We had this shift at 3, which is when I start trading. So 1 pass through, I got in and was thinking, okay, my stop loss, obviously, ideally I would have wanted up here, but it was way too big. The pullback would have been past this shift, so I thought, okay, I don't want price to have to make a market structure shift to the upside to tap me in, even if it is only on the 1 minute. So I went on to the 15 minute and put my stop loss just a bit above this, and at the top of this 30 minute and potentially even 1 hour fair value gap. In hindsight, I should have put 2 pips above that, because I normally put 2 pips above any PD array, but I was using the 15 minute. I actually didn't see this 1 and 30 minute until after. But either way, the trade still would have lost if it was 2 pips above, so it didn't make any difference. So what then happened, if I fast forward, is price was moving in my favor, and then I got wicked out here. Price then moved higher again before sinking down to my take profit. Obviously this was with news, however this trade should never have lost. I should have closed it a bit before, around here, just at break even in a smaller loss. If you recall from last week, something similar also happened, so I'm very quickly identifying, and there's been a few other cases as well which I haven't shared on YouTube. This is becoming an issue. So as you see in the title, this is how to identify if your strategy isn't working or something along those lines. So the issue with this is I'm either getting in too early or my stops aren't secure enough. In this case, the argument of my stops aren't secure enough could have been valid. However, even if I was 2 pips above that, I still would have just got tapped out, and that would have been even more annoying, because at least here it did go a bit higher, so I can think, okay, but maybe I'm even getting in too late, because if I started trading from London Open, which is 2, I would have gotten up here, I wouldn't have been stopped out, I would have closed for news, unless that was a 2R. If it was around here, we can have a look. No, unless there may have been another shift up here, I believe, because I'm pretty sure it did just hit 2. It was just like this, if I remember from, because I did look at that trade as well. So this one actually would have won. So maybe I am getting into too late, and I should be trading this, especially when there is something like this so clean happening. However, that's something I'm going to have to look into through my data and see it's something else, because what did happen for this specific example is if I go into DXY, we tapped into this 4-hour fair value gap. If I mark it out, you'll be able to see it nicely, and then price rejected and pushed higher, and that's what stopped me out. So if I was trading in Obviously, there was the news, but if I was trading in New York, we could have had a lovely sell off this 1 hour fair value gap, and then the price moved lower. But that is what stopped it out. Price respected this 4 hour fair value gap and moved higher, which in turn moved USD higher, stopping me out before going my way. It is frustrating. It's something I'm gonna have to look into and identify what the issue is to then make a change. But as you can see, there is clearly an issue here. So I've identified that, and I've identified the parameters I need to look, whether that's getting in earlier, getting in later, or adjusting stops. So yeah, with that done, I'm going to jump into the second trade I took this week. This one was nice. This is a great textbook example to show. So yeah, I'll jump onto gold right now. Okay, so you can see I've jumped up onto the daily just so I can give you, again, a bit more daily context as to why I was so bullish on gold. So as you know, historically, gold is bullish for making break of structure, break of structure, break of structure, break of structure here. Long term, we are looking for this high to be broken up here. Zooming in a little bit more, you can see price came into this area where we swept liquidity, came into a daily fair value gap, and we've been moving higher. We have been stuck here for a little bit. However, I was dropping down to the lower time frame, and if there is any opportunities to potentially catch this move to the upside, I want to be involved. So drop down to the 4 hour, and as you can see, we have this 4 hour fair value gap right here, where if you look at the consequent encroachment, which is right here on the dotted line, price came down into it and respected it very nicely here and closed. Obviously this is the London session candle, so I took the trade in this one. However, this one respected it very nicely. We filled the full thing and closed higher. We then come down to the 1 hour, where you can see I don't use order blocks that much. However, we had one here which we respected really nicely with this 1 a.m. candle, and if we drop down to the 30-minute chart, you can see we swept Asian lows, closed above, and I got in directly off this sweep. So drop down to the 1 minute, we had this shift again very early, just after 3, and then I got in. Price consolidated a little bit at first, but then we didn't really take much drawdown at all, and then price went higher and tapped my target perfectly, and then did continue a little bit higher before moving down. So let me just explain this. So as you can see, we did end up sweeping this high. So this is a pretty significant high, as if you look at the high on the left of it, or even this one, it's higher than that, and it's higher than the swing highs on the right. So this is an intermediate high. So it's pretty significant. There's quite a lot of liquidity. If we was to come onto the daily, it's a daily swing high. It's not just like previous day's high, which obviously we did end up sweeping as well. So this is an area of pretty significant liquidity. And as price is, I wouldn't say consolidating, but gold normally moves a lot, and this wasn't moving as much as I would like, or as it normally does here. So price may come up to somewhere like here, sweep liquidity, move lower, potentially come into here, maybe even this daily fair value gap and move higher. Obviously, it may not. It may sweep down here and then just move up. That's, I don't really look too long term, because if I'm not trading it, I don't really care what it does. So I wouldn't have targeted above this high anyway, but we did trade above it, and then price did move lower. And if I'm correct, yeah, we did sweep that low. So we have took some daily liquidity, but as you can see, we are kind of in this range right here. So we need something to happen for price to move higher. So yeah, I think this was quite a short one. I'm not too sure. Again, only 2 trades taken this week. I'm happy with that anyway. I don't have a minimum number. Even if I take none, if no opportunities present themselves, I don't care. I'm just trying to put myself in the highest probability situations possible. So yeah, there's me being completely open and honest. There's something I do need to change with something, because I keep getting stopped out when my overall direction is right. So yeah, when I finish my 20 trades, if you don't know, I log my trades in groups of 20. I've got 5 more till that's done. I'll go on an in-depth look and see, and if I do find it's not a problem, I'll let you know. If I find there's something that needs to be changed, and I do make that change, I will again let you know what that is. One thing I have incorporated, which you've seen me talk about today, is this 30 minute time frame, and it's really nice to see for Asian sweeps or kind of any time-based liquidity, as it can give you a real gauge. As you can see, if it was waiting for that hourly, you would have been waiting here, but I had this 30-minute close above and thought, okay, we're respecting it. We had this nice dip lower. So yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that was something you could learn. I'm kind of all over the place with these videos, to be honest. I go on little tangents every now and then. I don't have a script. I'm just kind of, I go on the chart, I draw up everything I had drawn up, and I just talk. So yeah, I hope there's stuff you could extract from this and potentially apply to your own trading. And yeah, let me know how your trading was this week. Obviously, it was NFP, so sometimes NFP weeks are trash. I found this week pretty good, to be honest, apart from obviously getting stopped out. But yeah, let me know. There was a good bit of volume, definitely some good moves as well. I took some, there was a Euro trade I took on demo because I only take one trade a day. So I also took that on Thursday, and that was really nice as well. So yeah, let me know, and I'll speak to you next time.